Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. We've got Rambling Canuck, Digit 11, and the Professor on the show today. How are you guys doing today?
I have snow in my backyard and my body hates me.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I've been away from home for the last, what's it been? 3 weeks now. So,
Yeah, when are we getting cooking videos
pretty
there,
well.
cameraman?
Yeah, cameraman. When are we getting more cooking videos going?
Well, excuse me. Wasn't aware that it was my fault that you had some difficulties.
Damn Skippy it is. Didn't you?
I think I can cook and hold the camera
You're
at the
the
same
youngest one in the
time.
room, dude. I'm sorry, but that falls on your ass.
Ugh, the issues I'm talking about happened with his body.
Yeah, don't worry about that. I'm
Just
able to
saying.
walk now, so it's cool.
And it's the only reason I haven't been there for the last 3 weeks. And my insistence to stay here until I got my Switch Lite. But that's besides the point.
So welcome to the Spiritual Studies stream, those of you who are out there watching right now. I appreciate your participation here. Don't forget to join the chat and just have a good time. We're going to go over the history of Buddhism, a little bit about the history of Tibet and the Dalai Lama. We'll go through the Eightfold Path, and we'll talk about some myths that are involved with the Buddhist spiritual enlightenment. So, what do you guys think is Buddhism? Rambling Canuck, would you like to go first?
It's a very interesting way of looking at things, for the most part, but it's a very different way of looking at things, and I don't know. It's simplistic in its complication. How's that for you?
That's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
Okay. Digit 11, you want to do a brief overview of your opinion on Buddhism?
Well, yes, I would, first of all. So I think it's, like Rambling Canuck said, I think it's pretty interesting. I also think it's rather fascinating to learn new things about something that for the longest time I was in the dark about. I think it's just an overall fascinating little bit of the world that I can definitely learn from, if, not to be like, oh, I'm going to change my religion, but it's definitely something that can be learned and see the differences between my own and their religions. So,
okay. And our in-house comparative religious studies feller, the Professor.
Indeed.
Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
What do you got?
I actually really appreciate Buddhism on a whole. I really, really do. The teachings are really intricate and convoluted sometimes with other beliefs. It is actually a kickoff point for other religions as well, such as Jainism, Taoism, which share a lot of similarities to Buddhism because they want to follow Hinduism. So I think it's a unique way of doing it. It's my take on Buddhism anyway.
All right. Yeah, it is actually pretty fascinating. The only thing I knew about Buddhism before I started studying for this stream today was that it was an Eastern religion. I didn't actually realize it wasn't a religion by itself. It is just a path to enlightenment. I honestly thought it was a religion.
No, not by definition, not by our definition anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that I do find interesting about Buddhism, I'm never going to say that right, but is that at the very core of it, Whereas in Christianity, especially, you can find that people will be at the worst part of their life, and we blame demons and the devil and stuff like that for it. Whereas in Buddhism, it's it's your fault.
Yeah, it's the
Right?
fault. It's the fault of existing that is leading to your suffering. Is
Right?
basically what they say.
Yeah, it's like I kind of find it funny that it's ingrained within the teaching that it's kind of like everything that manifests in your life is your doing. Therefore, the person that you should be looking at if your life sucks is you. Next, moving on.
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and answer Eastland Burkholder here, because that's what I was taught throughout being raised as a Christian. Isn't it dangerous to meditate and empty oneself without connecting to a higher power? I say yes. I was in a anger management class, 5 years ago, something like that. And they had us meditating, and I am not joking about this. While I was meditating, I felt like I was being attacked by an evil force.
Ooh, not fun.
Oh, but I'm filled with the Holy Spirit, so nothing can actually get in, but it did feel like I was being attacked. So, yeah, I think that is a dangerous practice if you're not connected to a higher power. But that's a personal opinion. Does that make sense?
It also depends on what you're, in which way you're meditating as well.
That is very true.
I mean,
true.
You're actively going into the spirit realm, then yes. If you are just clearing your own head and looking within yourself, then no. So it depends on the meditation to answer that correctly.
Yeah, fair enough.
Look at that. Tiki Doom was Buddhist.
Do I have Tiki on Twitter?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Let me find out. Someone who at least practiced
very true.
Buddhism on here. So let me see.
While you do that, I'll also address the meditation thing. A lot of the point of meditation is not necessarily to empty yourself out. It's actually more to focus on what the internal issue is. So, and find out like your vices and find out good ways to get around the vices, to find out what you really need in life and not to need in life. There's all kinds of different forms of meditation, but dangerous, as Knick said, only if you're going into the spirit world without a tie is it really dangerous.
Let's see. I've got 4 people in there right now. I control the stream, so yeah, I'll put the StreamYard in there. Tiki, if you're willing, you can come up. I don't have you on Twitter, so you can hit that link. And if you would like to come up and talk about your experience practicing Buddhism, I'd love to hear about it. I really would. Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and start with the history of how it got started. It started at about 400 BC with a man named
Siddhartha, whatever his last name is, I would butcher that beyond belief.
Gautama.
Mm-hmm. Siddhartha
And
Gautama.
he became the awakened one, the Buddha, and he is our most recent Buddha for this epoch of human history.
Mm-hmm.
So there have been many, many Buddhas throughout human history, but this Gautama is the most recent incarnation of the Buddha for our human epoch, the one that we're living in now.
Indeed.
He was a prince who
A Hindu
was-
prince, by the way.
Okay.
Very distinct right there. A Hindu prince.
Actually, you have to be distinct at that point.
Yeah.
His father wanted him to experience all of the pleasures of life. So nothing was ever off limits to him. During the rainy season, he would have dancing girls and bands to entertain him. So he never wanted for anything. He ate what he wanted. He drank what he wanted. He had as many women as he wanted, etc., etc. He married a woman, had a child, and when that child was born, he had a revelation. He had to find a better way of life. And so he left his wife and son and sat underneath a banyan tree for a long time, was attacked by a host of demons, and never moved. He just sat there meditating under the banyan tree. I think it was a banyan tree, wasn't it?
It was something
banyan
like
tree,
that. But
yeah.
that's also where I mean that's basically the myth there that I was gonna talk about.
Oh,
I mean, it may not be a myth, but like basically to go a little more in depth if I can here.
yeah, go ahead. I mean,
So he was sitting under this tree meditating, and this seductress of the religion, the Hindu religion, I believe, decides to try and send some kind of demon tries to send its daughters to try and seduct him into leaving the tree. And so they're chiding him, they're trying to get him to concede to leave the tree, and he basically, the end of it goes that he simply reaches with one finger and touches the ground, and instantly there is no more seductress women, there's no more demons' daughters, and they're just gone, and he's left to meditate in peace after that.
right. That's the story that I researched as well.
Yeah. I said it was pretty popular. That's like the basis of
Yeah, no,
enlightenment
that is
for
that is
Buddhism.
a very, very large thing. Siddhartha was also never allowed to leave the palace
Right.
due to an actual prophecy that stated that he would actually crumble everything of the king's kingdom.
Yeah. And his
this
father,
actually,
Because
the
he
myth-
wouldn't inherit the throne and he would become a holy man. That's
Yeah.
what the prophecy
and
said.
so the father was keeping him in the palace, and he actually snuck out 4 times. He
times.
snuck out.
Yeah, 4 times he snuck out.
And the
seeing
fourth
all the
thing that
death
he
and
saw,
sickness.
his first sight was an old man suffering. Now his father had lied to him about that, saying there was no suffering in the kingdom, there was no need for him to go and see it. And he saw this. His second sight was a sick man on the second night, and he found out that his father had also lied about that. On the third night, he saw a corpse. And on the fourth night, he saw a holy man. And actually a sadhu, which is a traveling holy man. So after this, he returned to his father and confronted him, asked him, "Have you lied about all of this?" And his father did not have a good enough answer, and that's whenever Siddhartha left to seek enlightenment.
Hmm.
And for 6 years, he searched for enlightenment. He actually traveled the entire, like, all over the place.
He studied under two different what are those called? The holy men, the
Sardu, the travel.
guru. Yeah, he studied under two different gurus. One was telling him to meditate and look inside himself the entire time, and the other one said meditate and think of nothing. And neither
Yeah.
one of those worked for him.
Right.
He
And
he also decided he was going to try and starve himself to see if that would work. And it wasn't until he started accepting kindness from strangers that he realized that he could find the path to enlightenment.
Right. Yeah, I was getting to that.
indeed.
He was meditating with his gurus, decided that that was not working, so he went to the ascetic route, which is what you're talking about, Digit 11. He would eat 1 grain of rice a day. He would stand on one leg, and he would, do all the things that the ascetics were doing.
Yes.
At one point, he was so sick and so malnourished, and everything. The skin of his head was getting so tight that it was difficult for him to open his eyes and things like that. And a young woman from the village down the street came and gave him some rice porridge. And that's when he realized and he decided that the middle path is the correct path. That's how he came up with the middle path. That is what Buddhism is supposed to be. It's a balanced path.
Yeah.
You don't
the
go
equal
overboard
path, right?
by meditating and looking into yourself, but you also don't go overboard by starving yourself and standing on one leg.
Yeah.
It's the middle path. It still involves yoga. It still involves meditation, but it is a middle path where you're not starving yourself to death and you're not looking into yourself like staring at your belly button all day. It's a compromise, and that's what he came up with, and that's what we recognize as Buddhism today.
Indeed.
And now, tell us, Professor, when Buddhism moved from India to the eastern part of the continent, how did it change? In what ways did it change?
Well, Buddhism actually began to shift into other nations between the 5th century BC and the 3rd century BC. Due to the fact that Hindus actually hunted and murdered people that claimed Buddhism. It was actually very, very bloody, very dangerous to try to follow this way at that point in time. So it began expanding, searching for a safe haven. So between there and between the 3rd century BC, whenever Ashoka the Great actually made it a state religion, they were actually just pretty much traveling. And so you had kind of like a split. You did have Theravada Buddhism, which is prevalent in Thailand, Sri Lanka, Laos, Burma, Mahayana, which is really prevalent in China, Japan, pretty much like your Asian cultures. And then you have Tibetan Buddhism, which is in Tibet, Nepal, Mongolia, etc., etc. So between those ages, they actually began expanding. and you actually had more branches than just that, because Taoism is an offshoot of Buddhism, and so on and so forth.
And these are the disciples of Gautama Buddha.
Yes, because Gautama died in 383 BC. Or 483 BC, apologies. He died, and his followers, which by then, they were actually very, very many, were actually going around and telling everybody this, and showing people the path. They were going forth, and that is a huge thing in Buddhism, to go forth and seek enlightenment. You have to seek it. It doesn't just come to you.
Now, Gautama actually founded the Sangha, the monastic order.
Yes.
But he didn't restrict it to just men. It was men and women.
Yes.
And
Indeed.
for 400 BC, that was incredibly progressive.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why the Hindus actually wanted to murder all of the Buddhists. One of them. And they did a hell of a job at it. Everybody thinks
So,
that the Christians really got the short end of the stick. Buddhists were...
as it moved east, Buddha would adapt to whatever society they came across, which is why those three the three focuses that you were talking about are mostly the same, but with minor differences, correct?
Yeah, there's not really that big of it, but there is it's more like the location and how like people found enlightenment in those locations.
Right.
Because there's also Zen Buddhism, Nirvana Buddhism, et cetera, et cetera. So
it didn't come to the West for a long, long time. But now that it's here in the West, it's not the same. It's not like a monastic order anymore.
No, you really don't get like the huge cultural difference until you go back there and actually see them. The ones here are very awkward, actually, in comparison. They're very stumbly.
All right, I'm gonna cut in here just for a sec. I gotta go. I got a couple things to do. Gotta go outside for an hour. You guys will be done before I get back. So I'm a dip. It was fun talking about this.
Thank you for hanging out with us, Digit 11. I appreciate it.
Take
I'll
her
see you
easy.
guys later. Maybe even, well, I don't know. I may pop in for some karaoke on Saturday. Anyway, see y'all later.
Later, buddy.
All right. Bye. Okay. So the it changes, like I said, as it moves east, and of course it's changed again since it hit the west. But I think I'm getting just a little bit ahead of myself. Let's talk about the rebirth, death and rebirth cycle, the wheel of death and rebirth.
The good old reincarnation.
Yeah, that's it's not confusing to me, but I don't really. I mean, okay. So when you're talking about karma, the deeds you do and the thoughts you have plant seeds, whether they be good seeds or bad seeds, and those seeds don't necessarily bloom during this lifetime. However, you die and then you are reborn either as another human or an animal, and you have to keep doing the same cycle over and over again until you finally reach nirvana. And nirvana is not a place, nirvana is not a band. Nirvana is a state of being where you get rid of all the wants and worries that have kept you in the cycle of birth and death.
Yes.
Whew.
Nirvana is what you find whenever you actually understand the Four Noble Truths.
Go over those four truths, please.
There's the truth of suffering, which is the dukkha. There's the truth of the cause of suffering, which is the samudaya. There's the truth of the end of suffering, which is the nirodha. There's the truth of the path that frees us from the suffering, which is the magga. And collectively, they actually teach you how to overcome suffering and follow the Eightfold Path completely and achieve nirvana and complete spiritual enlightenment.
Okay. Whew.
And to follow the Four Noble Truths, you actually have to follow the Eightfold Path, which is
Yeah, I was
right.
going to say let's go ahead and go over the Eightfold Path real quick. There are three main categories in the Eightfold Path.
Indeed. I'll go over each one here, or at least each pathway. There is the right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. There is no wrong, right? To do wrong is to go against the Dharma and achieve karma, etc., etc. You have to understand that is right understanding. You understand what you understand, and only through meditation can you understand more, or only through experience can you understand more. Right thought. Your mind has to be aligned in your understanding. Whenever your understanding is challenged and has to change, your thought has to change with it. Speech, the right speech, is actually how you talk to people and how you interact with people, whether it's positive or negative, and you always want to interact positively. Right action, you always want to do the right thing. Always. Whether it be eating, speaking, doing what you know through your thought and understanding, and your speech leads you yet again. Livelihood, how you live. If you live in this lavish place while people are suffering underneath you, you do not. You're not following right action. You're just not. You're not giving back. You're not helping people find their way either. You're just keeping them below you. Right effort is attempting, the actual attempt to do the correct thing. Right mindfulness is being mindful of others and how they act, how they react, and you have to have the effort of mindfulness in everything. And then concentration, you have to know yourself through all these things and achieve concentration in order for you to never break away from that path. And that's the Eightfold Path in a nutshell.
That is a lot of right living.
That is a lot of right living. That is a lot. And Buddhism understands that people sometimes go left. So
if you're on the left, you're screwed.
If you're a NASCAR driver, you're never going to reach nirvana.
Exactly. It's a horrible thing, NASCAR.
I know that's a terrible joke to say.
That is
but
funny,
seriously,
though.
It really does sound like just be excellent to one another.
Yeah, no, that's basically what it's saying is help each other, be nice to one each other, try to help each other achieve greatness while you are in this world.
Yeah, it's why I always said, that's why I said at the beginning, it is it is simplistic in its complication.
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. I know you haven't researched at Rambling Canuck, but have you at least looked up an article on the whole China invades Tibet thing?
Well, China basically invaded. I don't know the years. And well, the as some religious leaders tend to do, the the Dalai Lama, which to equate for easy purposes here, we'll say that the Dalai Lama is basically the Pope. To put it on even footing, right?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I still
just
remember
pictured-
the old. I still remember the picture with Queen Elizabeth, the Pope, and the Dalai Lama in the same room. That was interesting. Anyway.
I just pictured the Dalai Lama in the Pope's hat. I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah. That would
I'm
be
going to hell,
hilarious,
bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm making sure I'm going in every religion. But anyway, so what ended up happening is the Dalai Lama spoke out against it, which, because the Dalai Lama had so much influence within Tibet, soon became an enemy because he was speaking out against some of the movements that the Chinese military did and the Chinese government. And therefore he became on the hit list. And therefore he had to be removed from the country and has been in exile ever since.
No, that was 1950s.
Yes.
And China was attempting to wipe out Buddhism completely.
Yes.
Now, here's something interesting on that point as well. From a military standpoint, China actually lost a lot of people trying to get the Dalai Lama. And I do mean a lot of people. Now, everybody laughs at, the movie Shaolin Monk and all that good stuff right there. A lot of those people actually find enlightenment through a martial way.
Yes.
And
you don't mess with them. I'm just saying.
And
you
they
don't
lost a lot of people. They definitely lost a lot of people trying to take the monasteries and trying to take and kill the Dalai Lama. And they were non-prejudiced about who they took out whenever it came down to the taking out of the Chinese military. It was a very, very large war.
Yes.
So that was kind of like something I wanted to throw out there.
No, that's fine. Let's talk about the Dalai Lama, actually. This is the 16th incarnation of Dalai Lama that we have now. So when the Dalai Lama dies, how do they choose a new one? Anybody?
Oh, I was waiting for Canuck to answer.
No idea.
It is my understanding, and I might be incorrect to that, but they actually gather Buddhists, and they actually send people out to find him.
Yes.
If that is what I gathered out of my learnings of it. So they actually have to find a true successor. And it has to be agreed upon that he is the true successor. So sometimes what they'll actually use is items that the Dalai Lama was fond of, et cetera, because your past life will come into this life as well.
Yeah.
And you will have no problem choosing.
When they find the child, the child is supposed to choose those sacred relics.
Yes.
And so they're carrying a bunch of relics with them all over the place. But when he chooses the correct relics, then they know that is the new Dalai Lama. That's an amazing way to pick a successor.
But it is pretty interesting, and it actually makes you think how much of it, how much of our past lives actually carry on into our next life. Like, do we actually, like, people that are prodigies that have a skill that they've never even been taught, but some people sit down at a piano and can just play.
I'm not a prodigy. I'm a Protestant. So I only have one life, but
fair enough. It just makes you kind of think.
Sure, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just made a bad dad joke. That's all.
Oh, for sure. No, it was good. It was good. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
And Nancy, she studied with a Japanese Buddhist. Was there at the opening of a temple in Las Vegas. That's
That is awesome.
fantastic. Yeah. And I know Nancy. She's Christian as well. And it's fantastic that we can study these other religions, even though we are, well, you're not, I know, but Professor, Rambling Canuck and myself, we are Christians, and we do study these other religions because we want to understand them and be a better people by being able to interact with these the folks that are not of our faith.
Well, St. Augustus actually said to deny knowledge is to deny faith itself. So
Yeah,
that is something that he
that's a
actually
good
stated.
point. I mean, I've never denied knowledge. I mean,
He was also crucified for it, but he would.
Well, that's just a minor detail.
I even believe in an old earth. I mean,
That's a bad day at the office.
I get a lot of crap from my Christian friends for believing in an old earth.
Yeah, but one of the things I'd like to expand on is one thing that I found. Now, I will admit I didn't do a whole bunch of research. I have a lot going on, but from what I was able to, the one thing that I was listening to one of the Dalai Lama's speeches, and one of the things that he said really stuck out because it's a really interesting way of looking at it, which was that Buddhism is very different from like a Christian religion, from like Mr. CCTV and I's religion. Because in our religion, it's top down. So God gives you the commandments, then you take what the higher power has said and try to achieve, to follow his teaching. Whereas in Buddhism, everyone from their gods to their enlightened or their prophets all start out at the same level and then work towards that. Instead of right.
They do believe in man and maybe being born again as a animal, and they even have there are some who get born again as gods,
demigods, yeah.
And so it's not
because like the way to change that would be in the Christianity, we're not following the Bible to become God, right? That's not our end. That's not the end goal.
When we talk about the Latter-day Saints.
Yeah. But aren't you guys like, so coming from like a Catholic and Christian background myself, it's to achieve a closeness.
Yes, a closeness to God, but not to be God.
Right. But if you become close to God in spirit, you therefore become part of his essence, right? So therefore you are a part of God.
Well, you always are.
Yeah.
By rough definition, whether you go to heaven or hell, you are a part of God.
Right.
So
being a part of God technically makes you God incarnate. And that's where like you get demigods and things like that.
And that's a dangerous line of thinking.
That is a very dangerous line of thinking. Very controversial.
Christian religions don't do it that way.
Yes.
This is exactly why I got kicked out of church. But
when we are saved, a part of God fills us. It's the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
But that does not make us a God.
Yeah. Whereas, so the way I looked at it was in our religion, it's not follow these teachings and you can become me, right? But in the Buddha religion, it is very much that way.
Yeah.
Oh, indeed.
Right?
Because
Follow these teachings and you become me.
Even if you are born again as a demigod, you still have not achieved nirvana.
Yes.
Nirvana is the goal, and nirvana is the lack of desire, I think is the right way to say it.
Yeah, so it'd be the lack of suffering and the lack of desire in the world. Not so much desire, because you've already achieved spiritual enlightenment. You have everything that you need. And that's what nirvana is seeking what you need. And for every person, it's a different thing. It is completely different, because everybody's spirit reaches nirvana in a different way, on a different path, by following a certain path, which makes it kind of weird.
Wow. You are correct. It is very complicated in the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
I mean, the simple thing is be good.
Yeah.
And,
the
meditate
complicated
and learn, and eventually you will reach nirvana, regardless of how many lifetimes it takes. But it's also so complicated.
Indeed.
Beautiful. It is beautifully simple in its complexity.
So most people in modern day Buddhism, unless you follow a traditional path, you actually only ever read the Tipitaka, which is one of the holy books, which is part of the Buddhist holy book. And you might read like a couple of the sutras, but there's actually more than 2,000 sutras, which are the teachings. But most people will never go into like the Book of the Dead, which is the final book in the Buddhist holy book, which is actually, it goes through the stages of death in detail. And so most people actually being taught are only getting taught a very closed-minded way, especially in modern day Buddhism. Well, at least in the Western form.
In the Buddhist format, East or West, one of the tenets is I can't. Good Lord. Meditation. Whew. Now, what is the main point of meditation in the Buddhist faith?
The point of meditation in the Buddhist faith is to actually find yourself and what you need. And sometimes it can hit you instantaneously. Sometimes it takes decades. But that is the point of meditation. You learn something and you meditate on it to find the truth, which is actually part of the Eightfold Path. And the four... my mind just went blank. Hold on. The Four Noble Truths. God. So, that's part of your Four Noble Truths, which takes you down the path. So you learn something, and you meditate on it. And if somebody tells you something, you can meditate on it and find out the truth in what they have said. Which is why if you ever ask a Buddhist monk, like, a complicated question, they're either going to blow you off and tell you to meditate on it to seek your own truth, or they will meditate on it for you and get back to you at a later date.
Now, I understand that the two concepts of meditation is to calm and clear and concentrate your mind.
Yes.
And also to come into a state of equanimity with your body and your mind at the same time.
Meditation allows you to unlock unlimited potential within yourself. Completely unlimited.
That is a lot of meditation, man.
That is a lot of meditation, but I have watched, I'm not even kidding, I have watched a Buddhist monk walk up a cliff face. Now, given this cliff face was at an angle, but it was like at a 112 pitch, and I even have a hard time walking up a 112 pitch on a roof, and he did it barefoot on a flat surface without even hesitating. He just walked up it, and I was
Now
like,
that is mind-body control right there. What's
Yeah.
up, Bees Nest Films?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Are you a Buddhist?
No.
Why did I let you up here on the panel? Normally, I restrict these things to what we're talking about.
They do have an interesting philosophy, but I'm not a Buddhist.
Okay. Well, what do you know about it?
Not much. I remember seeing, this was probably a couple of years ago. There was this young kid. He looked maybe 15.
Just 1 second, Bees Nest. Eastland Bookholder. We are littered with things not our true self that we are attached to. And that is the point in the meditation in the Buddhist faith, is that you can actually shed yourself of the things that you are attached to that are not part of your true self. So yeah, that's a very good point, Eastland. Thank you.
Yeah,
Go
I mean,
ahead.
it's groovy, like with Buddhism, like it's all about joy and happiness. That's pretty cool. That's what I like about it.
Well,
But
actually, we went
something-
over that a little bit, and it's not about joy and happiness. It's about shedding the pain and frustration of the world, which is a little bit different than the way you described it. Oh, I got a phone call.
I've
coming in,
watched
guys.
documentaries. I've watched documentaries where like some Buddhists, they would actually it's like a ritual they would go through. Maybe one of your other guys might know about it, but they sit in the lotus position and they quit eating. They eat like a certain diet, and they end up mummifying from the inside out, and they stay in that position, and they're like put up on a shrine or something. But there's like Buddhist mummies in the lotus position, but it's
Indeed.
they actually like starve themselves to death. Yeah.
They enter a form of meditation so
That's
deep
all.
that they cannot come back out of it because that's how they're searching for their own enlightenment. And that is a very
Yes.
intense thing.
Don't they have a certain diet that they eat during that time that makes them like mummify or something?
No, that's the whole point in the Buddhist faith, is that you can meditate and you can do what is comfortable for you in order to reach enlightenment. For instance, the first, or not the first Buddha, but the Buddha of our era, he tried starving himself and he couldn't find enlightenment until after he started eating again and took the middle road path, which is what he came up with. Instead of meditating all day long and becoming a mummy, or starving yourself all day long and standing on one leg, he took the middle path, where it's partially meditation, partially a restricted diet, but you have to choose that diet for yourself, and learning and meditating and not restricting yourself to a certain type of aesthetic environment.
Also, it's very interesting that some of these, I forgot, I don't know if it's Tibet or whatever, but they're able to go pretty much without any kind of clothes on in the, like below freezing, and they dry their clothes. They'll put like their sheets and stuff over their body, and they meditate, and their body heat would dry like these wet clothes.
That is actually it is a form of meditation where you actually center yourself and use your own energy to control the world around you. And that is a big belief actually in Tibetan Buddhism, that you can do that. You can affect the world outside of your mind.
That's interesting.
Wow.
But anyway, I just came in, pop in real quick to say hi. I got a stream I got to be on. It's 10 minutes, so I just popped in to say hi, guys.
Well, thanks for popping in. I appreciate it.
All right,
I'll
man.
see you around
Take care.
later. Well, guys, I think that pretty much wraps it up. We
I
hit
think
the
that
highlights.
I think that covers
Yep.
it.
Oh, Max World Entertainment is here. La 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 la. What's up, my brother? You came in at the tail end, man. We're just about to wrap it up. Jason Saint, thank you for being here. Eastland Burkholder, that was fantastic. Those comments are wonderful.
Indeed.
Nancy, thank you for showing up. Tiki of Doom, I wish you had had time to get your dinner and be able to come up on the panel. I was really hoping to have a Buddhist on the panel, but, you know,
Me too.
life gets in the way, so no worries. But again, thank you, everybody, for showing up. Professor, I appreciate your knowledge when it comes to comparative religion. It's very convenient having you here, man. I appreciate it.
Of course.
And as always, Rambling Canuck, my brother.
I made it through another one of these.
I do so very much like co-hosting with you, my friend.
Yes.
What do you got coming up this week, Rambling?
Well, I was supposed to have an Enterprise video, but this morning. But see, Mother Nature decided that it wanted to drop 2 inches of snow last night, so my body decided to say, F you, you're not walking for the next 8. So I was unable to record last night because, well, moving was not recommended. So I'm going to have to come up with something this week. And then, of course, karaoke Thursday. Friday will be the second video on Mussolini, on History with R&R. I do want to thank everyone for sharing out the radio show. It was very successful. I think last time I checked, we were at 37 views. I'm hoping that we get some more subscribers. We're up to 55. I'm hoping that we can kind of get that starting to edge up. Would be nice. But I'm very happy with the support that we've gotten, especially on the radio shows, because I put a lot of work into those. So does everybody else, and they're just fun to do. And then we'll of course have on Tuesday next week, we're having a very special live stream on History with R&R that will be myself at Richard Simpson, or Admiral of Doom, Colin P, and Chef Zilla, and it'll be on Agincourt.
Nice.
And then the regular scheduled programming.
Professor, you got something coming up?
I do,
You got
actually.
your YouTube channel up and running?
Tomorrow, about 6 p.m., I will actually be doing my very first video for Monsters and Myths, or Myths and Monsters.
Very cool.
Right
Very
on.
cool. Oh, and I will promote this because it's an honor to have been asked. Tomorrow morning, on the plus side, I will be on Loki's morning show.
Woohoo.
On the bad side, I will be reviewing Star Trek Discovery.
Hey, you got to balance it out, man.
You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both in there. You have the facts of life.
That's right.
All right. Do you have your YouTube link?
I do not currently. That is
Okay.
what I'm doing tonight.
All right.
But
We'll
as soon
take
as I
care of
get that, I will get that right to you.
All right, we'll take care of that. I'm doing a pain stream tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. There will be no Bible study this weekend. I don't feel like moving my entire rig to a hotel room for a single night, so I'll just skip the Bible study this week. But what else? That's pretty much all I do, just spiritual streams. So next week we're doing Shinto.
Oh, fantastic. I love Shinto.
And then we'll circle back around to the Western Abrahamic type religions.
Yay, stuff I know about.
Sweet. Are you going to get into heathenism? Because that's kind of like my thing, bro. No.
Eventually, yes. I
know why do wait, but technically, Professor, we just covered that for the last 50 minutes.
Oh.
Dang.
Wow,
just
the
saying.
wordplay. Right on. Oh, well done.
All right, guys. Have a blessed week.
You too, man.